Good. So my name is Dave Miller, and I am the co-host and co-owner of Touch Mother Earth, which started out as just a festival in 2016, and from there grew to become Touch Mother Earth events, because people wanted to continue activities not just once a year at a festival. And then from there, it became Touch Mother Earth Environmental News. Those are two pages that you'll see on Facebook. And give me a sec while Cheryl here is getting herself some water. So why did I do the two? Well, the events page was so that all the musicians and presenters could continue the discussion and the enjoyment of music live throughout the year, or post their events in the case of the event page. And then we also realized from the festival, and it was one of the goals of the festival, was to make sure that I've got Sher's camera here hiding me. There we go.
You're good.
We wanted to make sure that we could keep in touch on what is going on in the environment, what's going right as far as cleanup of plastic, cleanup of any of the pollution, reducing ozone, carbon emissions, etc. And also telling what's going wrong, like who is controlling the money flow to destroy the land through indigenous fields by building pipelines and such. So that is how Touch Mother started. And then Cheryl and I got married, and we realized we had something bigger than that on our hands. So we started a non-profit. Right now it's a New Jersey non-profit. So you are going live here. We're going live from Touch Mother Earth NJ non-profit. We are going to be going for a 501c. Once we can get through that, we'll be a full non-profit, with the idea that we can receive grants and things so that we can make more activities possible, have funding for those who cannot afford some of the activities. So that brings us up today. With the coronavirus, we had already put down money for Touch Mother Earth Festival for September 11th through the 13th. And then everything shut down. The whole world took a big pause, as you know. So in reading that Earth Day was not going to be able to be possible with people meeting at the various parks and activities associated with Earth Day, which is 50 years this year, we decided, let's create a virtual festival. And we did. You guys are all witness to this. Now, people have been asking me at my events that I put together, or that Cheryl and I together put together, I often bring a sweet potatoes, and people want my recipe. So that brings us up to today's presentation. So we're going to start by talking about ingredients. So I can choose to spice different ways. You could use a regular potato, but they're less nutritious, so I would prefer to work with sweet potatoes. You want to pick potatoes that don't have any major damages, but if they do, you can always cut them out. The next is, we're going to be using oil. My preference is coconut oil, but you can use olive oil. It just changes the flavor a little. And then we're going to work with some different ingredients today. I have not worked with pineapple or orange, but the juice of the orange will add to the flavor, and the pineapple, many people do that on the barbecue, so we're going to do it here in the oven. You want to make sure you have some cutting boards. I normally at home have a much larger cutting board. We went out and got some while we were in Florida. You want a sharp knife. You're going to be cutting through potatoes. And now come the ingredients. You do not have to have all these ingredients, but it is helpful. So what I would consider the necessary ingredients are going to be your basic salt and pepper. We like to use Himalayan salt. That's our preference. And any kind of black pepper is fine. If you have fresh ground, you can grind it yourself. That's great. Now, we're going to look in our cabinet here and see if we have any other fun stuff in here. And I see, the base of the recipe. The base of the recipe is an Indian curry, also known as garam masala. Masala means mixed, and garam means spice. You can get it at any store. We happen to go to the Indian stores because you can get it. Now, we're going to take oil. We're going to add it to our pan. And this is going to be used for two purposes. It's going to help blend the spices. Put enough to coat the bottom. You can always add more afterwards. And then the amount of spices really is up to you. If you like it on the spicier side, you're going to use a lot. So what we have right here, I've just added a good decent amount. We also are fans of paprika, especially smoked paprika. So we've got our smoked paprika, which we purchased at Trader Joe's, and some generic paprika. This happens to be from Spice World, believe it or not, from Aldi's. And it's got a rich flavor, so I'm going to pour some of that in. And again, you're going to adjust these things to your taste. So I'm going to add the smoked paprika is a red, and the regular paprika is brown. Now for some color, and this is good if you're using white potatoes, we like to add turmeric. Now turmeric is not just because it's the spice, it has benefits to your health. And as long as you're cool with the flavor, add as much as your palate desires. Now this one is optional, chili powder. If you guys like it hot, then let's go for it hot. If you don't like it, you can omit it. It's not pertinent to the device, to the recipe. I happen to like cumin, so we've got somebody joining us there. Fresh ground cumin, and you can also get cumin seeds and just lightly mash them. Maybe use the back of a spoon, or you can put the seeds in a plastic bag and crush it, like with a book, or a ball peen hammer or something. So I go heavier on the cumin. It's also a favorite ingredient in my chili. We were actually going to make our chili recipe, but we were not able to get a lot of the ingredients. The beans and the fresh peppers are sold out. You cannot get them from Whole Foods, you cannot get them from Costco, so we're dealing with that. Now, here is another optional spice. Pumpkin spice. Now, the reason I choose pumpkin spice is it's already got a mix. It's got some cinnamon, it may have nutmeg, it may have allspice. It's a variety of spices. If you prefer, if it's a flavor that you're already used to, then go ahead with that as your base ingredient. But I like to also add individual ingredients. Now, here is another ingredient. This is a Jamaican mixed spice. This is a little different than your normal Indian curries, although it does have some of the same ingredients. And one thing I always do, I like to smell a spice before I start it. I want to make sure that it's fresh. If it's not fresh, I know I have to add a little more. This is an older jar, so I'm going to go heavy on it. And because we're going to be adding the fruit, I'm also going to add in some vanilla. Not too much, just a little bit. And then you could add other things such as basil leaves or oregano or something to your liking. Again, it's not a set amount of ingredients. You can blend it more towards the Italian side, more towards the Jamaican side. So I'm not going to put in the basil today. Now, we're going to take what we have, and we're going to grab a spoon, and you're going to want to mix it. Mix it with the oil, and you're basically making a slurry. And we only have small containers. You need a baking dish. So I also have a second baking dish, which I previously added the ingredients. See if we can do this without spilling. So we're basically making a thin paste or a slurry. That is going to be used to coat the potatoes. So next in our process is we've got to cut up the potatoes. Now, I realize our cameras are not as close as I thought, so let's see if you guys can see me here. I don't think you can see me on camera with this one. We're going to adjust this one down a little.
Down. Thank you.
There we go.
There.
All right. Now we're both in the same range. Okay, so certain parts of the potato you're probably going to want to cut off anyway, the two ends. And then look and see if you have any spots. If you do, I could probably use a smaller knife for this part. Just take it out. You could also use a peeler that has the rounded end, an apple core, etc. Cutting the potato. Some people say, oh, I'm just going to make slices. The thing about slices is it's harder to flip and mix. So I like to make my first cut, and then cut the potato right down the middle. So now I've got two halves of potato. And then I am basically going to cut crisscross. So I'm going to make triangles out of, those are my idea because I prefer to have three sides that can be coated. We're going to do that real quickly. We are not a regular cooking show where we have certain ingredients prepped. This is real time, folks. All right, so we're cutting up our first potato. And basically what we have here is a handful. So they're more like a wedge shaped. So I would say make them maybe slightly larger than bite size. You don't want them to become mush. All right. We're going to take those. We're going to put them into our container, baking dish. We're going to cut up the other potato. Would look something like that. I'm going to get real close to this camera. We're going to get real close to this camera. All right. So we take those. We add them into our baking dish where we've already prepared the oil, and we're going to stir them until they're really nicely coated. And if you guys probably hear the air conditioner just kicked in. I'm going to see if we can get that turned off by the magic of Cheryl. So you want to stir them around so that all the sides are coated. That includes the skin and the flesh as well. I know you guys are probably thinking air conditioner. Well, we are in Florida. We're in Delray Beach, and it's been getting in the high 80s and 90s. Okay, so now I've got a piece that is coated. So you're going to see the spice on it over here, the spice on it over here. All right. Now, I said we're going to do something a little different today. So, because we only could go shopping once every 3 weeks, roughly, at Costco, we bought a huge bag of oranges, and we have a lot. So I've cut one in half. I'm going to cut it in half again until it's quartered. And I'm going to squeeze some of the juice. And it's up to you how much you want for the flavor. Probably one orange or a half an orange is about all you need. The next, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this live on camera, unless Cheryl wants to do it. Does Cheryl want to cut a pineapple?
Sure.
You get 2 for 1 today, folks. And I will bring the cameras a little bit closer while she's doing that. Say hi to Cheryl.
Okay, well, I'll show how to do a pineapple. Basically, put it on your counter and break it off. That's how you can tell that it's ripe in the compost, which we don't have but here, but okay, and stuff. And then you just want to churn up your pineapples, are actually easy to cook. You want to go right slice down the middle and stuff. And as long as your pineapple is ripe, it'll cut very easily. And there you go. This is kind of overripe. That's okay for cooking. So as you see, there you go. Okay.
This is something that Cheryl actually showed me.
What?
This is something you.
Yes.
This is a trick that Cheryl made. So we're actually doing a combined.
So you want to cut off the ends here.
All right. So the end parts, you're basically throwing away any part that you're not going to be using. And after she cuts off the other part, we'll show you what half a pineapple would look like. I'm sure you can imagine what half a pineapple would look like.
Now Dave's going to cook this pineapple.
All right.
So it's a little different than what I would normally
So
do.
we have it in half, but we still have the rind on it. And this is where the secret comes in, is Cheryl is going to show you how to cut around so that the rind comes off in all one piece.
So you just, basically, this knife is not, you can have a small one.
All right, we're going to get a smaller knife for the petite lady here. This is live.
Okay.
Through the magic of television, that's not a sharp one.
That's not sharp?
Yeah, we'll find out. You guys gotta love this, folks. We're doing this live, so, you know, we bring it to you, make it real.
Okay. Basically, this is fine. It's easy, really, to cook, to cut a pineapple. But if you look at it, I'm just edging the end of this around and taking off.
So she goes around both lengths and inserts the knife in to start to separate the rind from the pineapple itself. And in a few minutes, or in a minute, you'll see what the results are. So if you guys who like pineapple, especially in the summer, you want to bring it to a barbecue, this is really your best way to do it.
So if you're paying for them to take off the shell of your pineapple, as you can see, it comes right off in one way and stuff.
And if you did not want to cut up your own pineapple, of course you could buy a cored pineapple, but you want it to be as fresh as possible.
Right.
We tried to back time this pineapple. There's a couple spots in it we'll have to cut out, but that's fine.
And what I normally do to serve it, although we're going to cook it, is just cut that down into middle into quarters, and you can then slice it and you have pieces that you can eat. This one's gone.
All right, so this, we'll cut this in half. All right, we'll cut this in half. And that's about your finish.
Is that enough?
The pineapple you do want on the bite size because it doesn't melt into the ingredients. So we got a tag team here. So I've got some bite-sized pieces here, and yes, I did wash my hands. Wash our hands a lot these days. and add them into our container. Now, what are you going to cook this at? That kind of depends on you. Minimum temperature would be 325. But if you wanted to cook a little faster, you could go up to 375. I would not do 400. I would not go below 300. You know, obviously it's a matter of how long you want it to go on for. You can do this in any quantity. I often make 2 baking sheets, 2 Corelle dishes, and I'll cut up maybe 4 or 5 potatoes. So for our example here today, we cut up 1 potato.
So if the pineapple is overripe, that means it's really good for cooking. So if you have an overripe pineapple, then grill it or cook it in a dish like Dave is showing you and stuff, and you don't have to worry about it. There you go.
If you have never tasted the brown part of pineapple, as long as it's not black, it's actually overly sweet. When you buy pineapple juice in a container from the store, trust me, they are using, first, they're using the pineapples that are on their way out, that they're not going to be able to bring to market. We're busy cutting away. Yeah. Let's have a hand for Cheryl. Thank you. We got to wash up.
Wife and shoe step.
All right. We do a lot of cooking together. We've done a little bit here. We've done more in Middletown. And I'll tell you, there's nothing to building your relationship than having a partner that enjoys cooking and preparing food with you. Okay, so I have added the pineapple. We've added the juice. Now, let's just say you didn't have an orange juice, but you wanted to do something else. Experiment. You could put in some pomegranate juice, some cherry juice, maybe a lime or lemon. Remember, we're thinking tropical here. All right, so we're back with this container. Now we need to coat the pineapple. Sorry for all the clacking noises here. You want to get the pieces completely coated. You don't want the bottom of your dish to be completely dry, but it should have some liquid in it, so as it's cooking, it'll go into it. Alright, so what we have here is our complete ready to go into the oven, which we'll be cooking. Now, I don't have, like the magic of TV, have a finished product already ready for you. It would be too hot to be working in the kitchen right now if we did. So what we're going to do now, this actually ends the live presentation. For those of you who have joined us on Zoom, we will continue the discussion. If you're on Facebook Live and you would like to join the discussion, go back to the event and find the Zoom link, click on it, and you can still join us. Thank you.